Good morning. Today is Wednesday, and like I've said, I think today we'll get back to the world building series. And today I think I'm going to focus in a little bit more on Ranmore. Now, I've described this setting, these two worlds, Tarmor and Ranmor, and I've focused in quite a bit on Tarmor, the world, let's call it the primary world in the system, the larger world in the system, a world that has been predominantly overtaken by the Emperor. Now, I say that's the world predominantly taken over because that is where the Emperor has actually sat his throne of power. That is where the Emperor is. Ranmor, on the other hand, has been conquered by the Vidoni Empire. They do claim it as theirs. The difference being is that the Emperor is not actually there. The presence of the Vidoni is not felt as heavily on Ranmor. It's not like Skyhaven, where there are Wolfguard marching the streets in force. There are Wolfguard in Zareem. Now, Zareem is the primary continent and country on Ranmor. There are Wolfguard in Zareem, but there are a lot less of them. Massive less of them. So when you see them, it is a big deal and a worry. Whereas if you're in Skyhaven, you see them anytime you're anywhere, basically. Whereas Skyhaven and Aranas feel like places that are under siege. They feel like they are actively under siege. People are cowering in corners. People are hiding. People are not leaving their homes. Zareem is not quite like that. Zareem feels like just a really depressed place. Their ruler, I guess you could call him, he has bowed a knee to the Emperor of the Vidoni. He has given over his power to the Vidoni. And basically, his people realize that he no longer cares for anything. He is given up. And basically, he has accepted the fact that he has no real power. He has no real purpose. And really the only things that can make him feel anything at all are gaining pleasures for himself. So basically, his entire goal is to do things which make him money so that he can buy pleasures, and to keep the Vidoni from being angry with him. That's his two goals. I'm going to tell you right out there, right up front, the ruler of Zareem, that's his goals. He wants to make money for himself so he can buy pleasures to forget about what's going on, and he wants to keep the Vidoni off his back. Now, what that means is that you will have long periods of heavy taxation without a word from anyone. As that happens, excuse me, as that happens, people invariably will start talking negatively about the Vidoni overlords, at which point it will finally reach the ruler's ear that people are speaking out against the Vidoni, and he doesn't want the Vidoni to be pissed off with him, so then he will just execute some people. Not necessarily the people that were talking badly about the Vidoni. This is what people have realized, is he's not really engaged in what's going on. His solution to get people to stop talking against the Vidoni is to literally find out, hey, people have been talking badly about the Vidoni. Right, find 50 random people and execute them in the town square. Well, do you want us to find the people that have been speaking out? No, that's too much trouble. Just find 50 people and kill them. He doesn't actually engage with dealing with the problem. He figures if he kills a bunch of people, the other people will get the hint and shut up. And to be fair, usually it works. When people start getting executed, most people stop talking bad, at least in public and at least for a little while. So that is the case in the capital city of Zareem, which is the city of Zar. You also have a few other smaller towns and villages around. You have the village of Carmen, which sits across the bridge. Excuse me, I'm tired. The village of Carmen sits across the bridges of the gap. Basically, the layout of the main continent on Ranmore, there is a gap across the land that is probably 50 feet wide, but probably 3,000 feet deep. Sheer cliff face going down. And at the bottom of it, there is a river that flows. The river actually leads from the Orc lands to the ocean. But there is this gap that it sits in, and it cuts across half of the continent. And the only way to cross that gap, short of the ability to fly or something like that, is the bridges of Carmen. Now, the village of Carmen, if the group does go there, has a number of secrets of its own. I don't want to spoil those, so I'm probably not going to talk a whole lot about Carmen yet, because my players will watch these to get a feel for the world. So, yeah, Carmen is a place that just feels odd. I'll leave it at that for now. There are also, then, as I mentioned, the Orc lands. Now, the Orcs of this world are tribal nomadic people. They wander. They don't really, for the most part, claim land, but there is one area, one central rocky place of lakes that is kind of what is referred to as the Orc home. And basically, it is where they put the elderly who are waiting for death, who are too old to die in battle. It is also where they put the young to keep them safe from battle. It is a safe haven, neutral ground where all of the Orc tribes are at peace. Now, the Orcs, because the Orcs do love conflict. It's part of their nature. This does lead to situations where you could have two tribes just outside the Orc lands, completely and totally at war, murdering each other, and then the next day they both move into they both go into the Orc lands, and they're feasting together, they're speaking with each other, they're completely fine because that is the tradition. They're not at war because I'm right and you're wrong and I have to destroy everything about you. They're at war because orcs like to fight. Orcs are supposed to fight. And orcs have to prove who's the strongest one. And you do that by fighting. But there's no genuine hate in it. Even if they're maiming each other, there's no hate in that. It's just the way that their culture is. As a little bit of an aside, anyone who's watched Star Trek The Next Generation, during the Klingon Civil War, there was the Klingon bar. And people from both sides went into the bar, and they would often have drinks with people from the other side and talk about the fact that if I see you in battle tomorrow, I'm going to gut you and kill you, and that's just how it's going to be tomorrow. But tonight, let's have a drink together and have a laugh and, you know, toast to whichever one of us is going to gut the other one in the morning. That's the orcs of this world. The other key feature that I have mentioned briefly about this world is, of course, the gnomes in the mountain, which, for intents and purposes, if you read anything at all about the gnomes of Krynn, Mount Nevermind, that type of thing, that is basically what you're looking at with the gnomes in this world. They are very intelligent, very fast-speaking inventors that are very technically minded, which build amazing machines, which more often than not explode, because if it doesn't explode, you're not pushing the boundaries of science. I've covered them in one of the previous videos, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave it for the day. We've talked about Zareem, we've talked about the ruler of Zareem, we've dropped a few hints about Carmen, we've talked about the orcs. Yeah, I think that covers it. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. You know, tell a friend if you're enjoying these videos, if you like what's going on, if you think there's any kind of content that is beneficial, let somebody else know. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.